Hello, 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 and welcome to My Empty Hands, a podcast about the martial arts with a focus on Kempo. I, as always, am Reggie Darden, and today I have Matt Trejo with me, and we're going to talk some Kempo and whatever else we decide that we're going to get onto today. I'm really excited to hear your story, and we'll
Thank
just
you.
get this right off the bat. You are not related to Frank Trejo. Is that correct?
No, but I got that my whole, ever since I started Kempo, I've been getting that.
Very nice, very nice. So yeah, I want to make sure that was clear right from the get go. So, but yeah, we're gonna just want to hear your story. How did Kempo find you? Where did you get started? And we'll just go from there.
Awesome, Reggie. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm really excited to be on, and thank you for the opportunity. Um, my journey starts a little bit back, so I'm into this for maybe a little like over 20 years, maybe 22 years or so. Um, I think I started out like anybody, when I was a kid, I loved action movies. I loved my Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal, Rocky. I loved all those movies. So I just loved martial arts when I was a kid. And I when I was smaller, I had taken some classes. I think even in high school, did a bit of boxing, different things, but it wasn't until I entered into college that I sort of got a little bit more serious into it. I was a little bit older, a little more focused, and I was kind of looking for a martial art to do. And it's a interesting story. My teacher, my best friend, Master Jamie Seabrook, I had met him when I was a kid. I got brought to some classes from a friend, and so I remember him from way back. And then sort of fast forward all these years later, going through college, and Jamie was working with my dad at the hospital here in town, and that's how it sort of started from there. Like my dad had even started first, and then he got me started. He said, I know this guy, his name's Jamie Seabrook. I said, oh my God, I know him. Like I went to his class. So that's how it kind of started through my dad. And what we would do is just train at the hospital. There was like a cafeteria that was wide open, and that's how I got started with Jamie. We started off just like that, not training even in a dojo, just in this cafeteria. Did that for a really long time. Forged our friendship, and I was absolutely fascinated with Kempo. Kempo was amazing. I'd seen Jamie do, some moves and some demos. I thought this is incredible. This is unbelievable. These moves, the sequential firing, just those amazing sequences. And it just fascinated me right away. I started to kind of, dig deeper. As I was learning and taking my private lessons, I became like almost obsessed and just fascinated when I saw old Ed Parker videos, just blasting off, the speed, the electricity. It was amazing. And I used to watch Jamie, and also Grandmaster Larry Tatum. I mean, when I watched these guys move, it was amazing. I was blown away. I thought this is just the coolest martial art. It just had everything I was kind of looking for. And it sort of had the boxing, it had the kung fu, and it had that different mix of arts, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. And so I was completely obsessed with it. And I was really, really lucky as I was, kind of coming up and learning. I had the chance to take seminars with different masters who were in Kempo, or they were first generation. And so then the history of it really started to fascinate me as well. I thought it was great. So, it was the first, all the way to black belt. I was training really hard with Jamie. doing a lot of private lessons, lots of seminars. He had been exposing me to different masters, instructors, and as well as different like martial arts and things. Filipino martial arts, just different, a little bit of jujitsu at the time, just a little bit. And I had did some tournaments as well, and tournaments were amazing at the time, to really just build my confidence. The sport karate was great. It was just the confidence I got from tournaments was amazing. I would, so I did that for a good while I was training, studying. I was a personal trainer kind of during this time period, so it kind of went hand in hand. The personal training, kettlebell training, martial arts, and so it kind of set me on a path. Kind of the health and wellness, but also it was perfect with Kempo and everything. So I've been super super lucky to have amazing people that I've been able to learn with. Different masters. I've been so lucky to have like Jamie Seabrook with me, and it was really great. We trained all the time, and I kind of stopped competing maybe around like 2005, 2006 or so, and just really started to focus on seminars and getting better. I knew Kempo was amazing. I was learning the system, but once I got out there and I started to learn, a different master would have a different take on a technique. He was making it better, or you see a variation, and my mind was blown. So I started to kind of focus on the seminars, doing a bit of traveling and stuff like that. And that's what's really been helping me learn the system, understand. About 2012 was kind of another pivotal moment where Jamie and I decided to start Gracie Jiu Jitsu. So the whole time, Jamie has been helping me with my Kempo karate studies, lots of influence of Filipino martial arts. But around 2012 is when we started to take the Jiu Jitsu on. And I mean, again, it was another moment where I thought this is the perfect complement to Kempo, because you have the excellence in striking, and now we have the excellence on the ground, the sequences, the attacks, the defense. So it was a whole other world on the ground, and I just felt like, with Filipino martial art and Gracie Jiu Jitsu, it was the ultimate complement to the Kempo. So, just been loving doing that. I tried a jujitsu tournament, is really tough. A lot of tough jujitsu people out there. They're strong. So it's been really cool. I mean, just to get out there and test your skills, and I always felt like it was good to get your nerves going, because I was testing myself. And so, jujitsu has been really cool. And it's been almost like 13 years we've been doing jujitsu, practicing regularly. Lately it's been, I've been still doing tons and tons of seminars. But now I'm studying with the gentleman from PKKA, all the great martial artists there, GM Todd Durgan and Jamie Seabrook. And training has been really great. I just love, obviously, the physical part. I love learning a different killer twist on a Kempo move. But most of all, I just really right now I'm enjoying the camaraderie, the friendship, all those really cool things. So I'm just having so much fun right now. It's been really, really good. Really good.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. Your story's kind of similar to mine, at least as far as just really being into the art and seeing how it just really fits, especially with when you're cross training in other arts. I've always felt that Kempo is a really good base, and just really connects well with the other arts, whether it be striking or grappling or all the different ranges. So I really like
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
connects,
Absolutely.
and we have the freedom to be able to uh, to move within the different systems in that.
Exactly, exactly. Like I just felt like and it's funny because like when I did camp, I was doing my campo and not so much jujitsu. I was kind of one of those guys, like well, you're gonna have to get me down, this kind of thing. And then I've had these moments where it's like a light bulb goes off. I had a friend, he takes me down, I'm stuck. I'm like, this is interesting. I need this. It's almost like a missing piece of the puzzle. So it's been really cool. Like even I've seen Master Jeff Speakman twice. He's been just kind of up the road. I mean, this guy is amazing. But it's really fascinating how he's done the Kempo 5-0 and then sort of included jujitsu in it because he felt the same way. It was like, oh, it's a missing piece of the puzzle. What if you get taken down? So that's what I love about Kempo. It's almost like a little bit of every martial art mixed in, but you can take one part of Kempo and focus on it. Or it's boxing, if it's, your hand to hand combat, or, your jujitsu. So, really great martial art to, get good at all kinds of skills and a great martial art to, I found, to teach people as well because you can tailor this system to any individual depending on their body type and size. So, it was something my dad could do because he was older. He was in his like 60s back then. So, yeah.
Very nice. So to get back to the competition side of it, were you doing just fighting? Were you doing forms? Were you doing any other divisions or
Yeah.
how did?
When I first started, they had these really fun tournaments in town. They had some local ones, and then it would be, kind of a local level tournament, and then there would be other levels, like the Canadian Open was one, and then they would take it to like a national level. And the tournaments were usually, open division or traditional. So I would compete in forms. I used to just love forms, and I would use book set. I use long two, long four. Long four is awesome for tournaments, and then I would do self defense divisions because nobody can compete with the kempo techniques. So that was my bread and butter going in. It was my forms and my self defense techniques. And then one of the coolest tournaments I ever did was there was an LTKK World Championship in Baltimore, um, and for me, that was a huge pinnacle. I prepared so much. There were so many people watching, and I used long four, and I won a gold medal for us, and it was really really cool. So I love the competition. I love the atmosphere. There's just some intensity in there. You get that good nervous. I just used to love it. You see all your friends. I think the only reason I stopped competing was, I think the competitions were slowing down a bit. Um, but hey, no problem. It was great. I just sort of changed my focus, and gee, you know what? I wouldn't. I would go back and do it again. It's actually so much fun. But I love tournaments. I think they have a lot of benefit, and they test your skills, test you out.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
I only actually competed in just a handful of tournaments, and it was just in sparring divisions, and more often than not,
Yeah.
actually, probably every time I got disqualified. So, uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Same, same. It was the same with like the jujitsu tournament and the sport karate tournament. The fighting was that point fighting, so I was getting creamed all the time. Just getting bopped in the head. So at our school, we do a lot of continuous fighting, which I prefer a lot more. I found the same thing with jujitsu tournament. It was a point system, and I just wasn't quite sure how to use that towards my strategy, but I got a lot out of it. I just felt like, you know what, I didn't win, I didn't lose, but I felt the strength and somebody else trying to attack you, and my mindset was just to survive, just to not get tapped. So yeah, it was great. It was intense.
yeah. continuing on with the competition side, I love that
Yeah.
you mentioned book set. Sorry, internets, but
Love it.
I love book set. I still do book set, and we're we're not going to get into the oh well, it's not a Kempo form and
Sure.
whatever. I like book
Just a
set.
great form.
I like it. I still like I've told many of my other guests. I do it at least a couple of times a week just because I like it. I like that Mr. Seabrook still teaches it. So
Oh yeah.
when that day comes when I have my own school, I'm going to teach it. So you know I really enjoy that form. I
Yeah.
haven't got to compete with it yet. I'm still kind of toying with the idea of getting into that scene and at least trying it out since
Yeah.
I've never done it. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, so
Yeah. Hey, me neither, man. Me neither.
very
But it
nice.
was a great form. Like it just sort of has this combination of some traditional stances and hard punches with some circular. So it was just the perfect form to use.
Very nice. So, have you any memorable experiences with since you've hitting the various seminars and stuff, and working with various teachers? Any kind of big experiences that stand out that you want to share? I mean,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the seminars for me have been the most fascinating, and just the best learning is because now we're digging into this like system. I from like yellow to black. I mean, I got it. I thought, oh, this is unreal. But I had reached a spot where like for example, we had gone out to Pennsylvania and we would train with Master Sean Kelly, Michael Robert Pick, Bill Superfoot Wallace was there one time. David E. Stanley was there, and I had trained with Al Tracy before, and I had plus I had Jamie. Um, and that's where I started to become fascinated with those hidden details, those little tweaks in the techniques that just make it so much better and just more devastating. And so I was sort of introduced to the combative side of it. I think jujitsu like really helped me to get the feel a lot better on my opponents because of jujitsu. But I had a little bit of influence from every, master I learned from, like Todd Durgan right now. Um, just a very dynamic guy. Some of the things he's doing. Um, and then of course, like Jamie is always doing his constant studying and research. And that's been really fascinating, very memorable. Is all these characters of the history of Kempo that I've got to meet. They all have their little piece of history, and they're part of the history of Kempo. And so it was really cool to like meet them and learn new techniques or how to make them better. And then you take those same concepts and apply it to all the techniques. And so for me, that was really memorable. Sometimes sitting down for dinner afterwards and hearing different stories from back in the day, Ed Parker stories, and I like that for me are the best times when we're sitting after the seminar, we're talking about all that cool stuff. So um yeah, these masters are amazing. I hope that I can still train with some more that are out there. I know they're the first generation guys are getting older, but these guys are amazing. They really are.
yeah, that's something that I found with doing this show is that you know the knowledge is out there. These people are out there, and so don't be scared to approach them and reach out to
Yeah,
them
yeah,
and try and get all of that knowledge. We don't
yeah,
live forever, so yeah, we
yeah.
definitely want to get all of these teachers, get that knowledge dump before they're gone, and hear those stories
Definitely.
from them while they're still here before they're gone, and that not only it increases our knowledge, but helps us, these next generations to be able to grow and continue to spread the art. So yeah, everyone
Yeah,
listening,
absolutely.
go out there and reach out to these people. Don't think that, oh, I've 10th
Definitely.
degree or whatever, I'm unattainable or you know not able to speak with them. They're all here for us. And so yeah, definitely get out there
Yeah,
and get that knowledge. So
definitely. I mean, it's worth it. I've been doing a couple of Jeff Speakman ones. Fantastic. I just, not only is he an amazing martial artist, but some of the history, of it all. I mean, it's just as fascinating. He's telling a story or whatever. So definitely got to get out there and meet these guys.
very nice. So let's move to the teaching side of it. Have you done any teaching? And if so, when did that all start for you?
Yeah. I think I started a little bit more around when I started Kempo, and then I became a personal trainer. When I became a trainer, it really helped me learn how to teach. I didn't teach anything before, and I had been given the opportunities to teach as I was coming up. So, as a trainer, I was teaching people maybe, some kickboxing, this and that. Sometimes they wanted to do Kempo and I would teach. Sometimes, as I was getting known, um, I would go to like the high schools, teach at the high school. Things like that, different seminars, women's self-defense, any opportunity I could to kind of get out there, I think. But what really helped me learn how to teach well was working with the kids at the high school because it's like this whole classroom control thing with them. They would, it was so much fun, but I had to really learn to tailor my lessons. I had days where I had no control, so there is but I got it after a while and I found my way to teach. And slowly I've been given the opportunities to do seminars and things. I have so much to share. So it's been nice to get those opportunities to do seminars. But like I love to teach, especially the young kids. That's really something really important, I feel. Yeah, teaching is amazing because I feel like I have taken in so much, but now it's sort of time for me to give back, to share this knowledge.
Very nice. Now, was teaching always something that was interesting to you, or that you wanted to do, or did it kind of
Yeah.
come later?
Yeah, I think when it came, it's just something I love to do because I would get this, overwhelming, like, I just feel so good after teaching a good class, or, helping somebody learn some techniques, whether it's kickboxing or self-defense. I always have that, really good feeling inside when I teach a great class. It's like an addicting feeling, and I just want to keep sharing. There's so much, and I think that's what keeps me wanting to share. It's just that feeling that you're helping people, and you see people's eyes just open up like this. They're just so fascinated with this art as well. So it's something I ran into a little bit later, but I felt, first few times I thought this is great. This is something I want to do for the rest of my life.
Gotcha. Now, what was you know what was your early teaching experience like compared to how you teach now? Or there things that you've changed, or things that you want to do different, or do differently, teaching now versus when you first started teaching?
Mm, I think I'm just a little maybe more prepared now. Um, yeah, I think back then it was just being able to communicate the art and use the terminology. And I mean, that just took me some time to get used to. But at the same time, I was teaching at the gyms, and I was like a cardio kickbox instructor with music. So I was, you know, I was learning how to teach while doing like an aerobics class or so in the beginning it was I was trying to find my way, but now I have a way of doing it, and it's just, you know, I think I just try to prepare for who I'm teaching for, what I'm going to teach. So I try to prepare more. I think that's the biggest thing for me is you know, planning everything right out, and usually I like to have a theme for what I'm teaching. That's my biggest difference, I think, from now to back then. You know, it was a little bit, I was all over the place back
Hmm.
then, but now, you know, I'm tailoring my lessons to who I'm teaching.
Is there a specific section that you prefer? Like, you know, do you like teaching forms more or techniques or kind of what?
I love teaching techniques. I love the techniques. I love the techniques. I think that's my favorite thing to do is teach those. You know, always teach the forms, of course. I love those and what they all have to teach. Yeah, but it's, you know, mostly techniques. You know, if I'm teaching kids, then sometimes I might lean a little bit towards jujitsu techniques based on kind of that timing and that leverage based techniques that they have. Whereas, you know, maybe if I'm teaching an adult class, perhaps I can mix in a little more Kempo, a little bit more of, you know, those killer strikes that we love. Um, but with kids, it's, you know, it's a little different, a little different. So I try to, you know, choose the appropriate method.
Gotcha, gotcha. So for me, I am, I guess, newish to teaching Kempo. I've taught capoeira for a lot of years. So,
Oh,
um,
amazing.
but I'm curious. You know, for someone that is new to teaching, what kind of advice would you give for a new teacher?
Yeah. You know what? 100% new teacher. I just feel like being a little prepared. Like I do it a certain way. I mean, for me, I'm always kind of cooking up ideas in my mind. I'll know, you know, I know I've got a lesson coming up, and so I sort of brainstorm in my mind at first, but I like to write things down. I think that really could help a new instructor. I mean, in the beginning, I held these little cards inside my gi. I'm like, what am I teaching next? I just look at the card. So I think that for me was just being like prepared. I never wanted to feel like I was running out of stuff to teach or I'm, you know, I'm getting stuck somewhere. I always almost over prepared. I'd put extra moves just so that everything would go exactly how I planned, you know, the theme that I'd planned out.
Very nice,
So yeah,
very
it was
nice,
like the little cards.
very nice. Now, so doing both the kempo and the jujitsu, are you teaching both or
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely teaching both. Um, right now I'm not running like a full-time school. We're gonna start things up in January at the studio here in Strathroy. It's about an hour out or 45 minutes from my town. And we're gonna yeah, I'm gonna start to teach quite a bit. Um, I you know I like doing a combination. Like I feel like I want to teach Kempo. It has the curriculum, but you know, I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I think with the kids and stuff, as far as some jujitsu, some easy techniques from jujitsu. Um, you know, and just sort of take it that way. I can't show the kids five swords yet, so you know, I'm just going to, you know, teach both. A little bit of kempo, a little bit of jujitsu, but I want them to have, you know, the kempo curriculum. That's going to be the bread and butter right there, and then from that, I can teach them how to enhance their kempo techniques with jujitsu, or you know, vice versa. So
okay? So it's going to
it's
be
going to be a lot of
combined and
fun.
not completely separated. kind of
Yeah, a
combine.
little bit because you can see the combos. Like sometimes you can see it. It's like at the end of a kempo technique. It's like, oh, there's this move. Take that from jujitsu. Boom, it's right there. So I always love to show a lot of variations and things you could possibly do. So it's a great combo, I think.
Very nice. All right. So, do you have a? I'd like to get a memorable time as a colored belt. Usually on these kind of shows, everyone always asks, "Oh, well, what was your black belt test like?" and that sort of thing. And we'll probably get to that. But I'm curious if there's any standout memories from when you were a colored belt that you'd like to share.
Yeah, every belt I was going through a different phase of life or a different career. But I'll tell you, the belt I remember the most was yellow because I was a little bit older. And I remember doing the yellow belt with my dad in a park, and it was just a really like cool, like special thing I was doing with my dad. Yellow belt for me because I was so fascinated with the moves. Lone kimono, delayed sword. And I'm going through this list of techniques and it had really cool names. So I just remember at that time feeling like I wanted to do this for the rest of my life at yellow belt. I really did. I really felt it. I knew it would take me a long time, but I did feel like, I just remember the excitement, the obsession, from yellow belt. I mean, I was always obsessed all the way through, but it's like that saying, a black belt is a white belt who doesn't quit. So, it was a really cool time. We weren't even in a dojo. I didn't have a gi, it was like straight up just some hardcore training. It was outside. Sometimes you go outside in the heat, or it'd be like winter time, be like as long as the ground is dry, we would still train. And so I remember those days kind of coming up and solidifying my base. It was really those first bunch of belts. And those are my favorite techniques too. My yellow, orange, purple, amazing. Those are my favorite moves still to this day. So really cool. I mean, it seems like yesterday, honestly.
Very nice, very nice. So, so then, yeah, let's move into the black belt. When you were uh, getting ready to test for black belt, and then what was your well? I think we're gonna try this out here. So, I have my little rituals now before I test, and
Yeah. Yeah.
one of them being that I watch The Perfect Weapon. I've
For sure.
now done that every test, I believe, since my orange belt. I've implemented this, and it hasn't failed me yet. So
Yeah,
that's
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 amazing.
one of my little rituals. So that
Yeah.
and watching Best of
Yeah.
the Best Part Two
Yeah.
are.
Love it. Love that movie.
um,
Awesome.
so I'm curious. Do you have any kind of testing rituals or any kind of thing before like a seminar or before a competition or any kind of little ritual things that that you do before
Huh.
anything, a class or a test or anything like that?
Yeah. Hmm. Not much of like a ritual, maybe, maybe just a little bit of meditation and visualization. That was a little bit of my thing. I didn't have anything too superstitious, but I always felt like if I could kind of calm them nerves, visualize, that was a little bit of a thing for me. I mean, every test for black just had me so I was nervous like you wouldn't believe. It's just those butterflies. So, I think just some solid breathing techniques to kind of calm the nerves, and some silence, some relaxing was always key. I might need a better ritual, but I was still nervous. But and then I think over time I learned how to relax a little bit more because the nerves can take you over. You don't want to be too nervous because then your performance is not the best. But if you're not nervous at all, then you don't have that edge. So I always believe the nerves is a good thing. And for me, it was just to stay really relaxed. And if I was prepared, if I did my preparation, I didn't worry too much. I just let it happen. But lots, different tests were tough. I remember every test. I can remember they each one of them meant something different, but every single test was really hard. It'd be 3 or 4 hour tests or something. So yeah, but mentally visualizing was big. It was big.
Gotcha. So I have I still got a ways to go before I get to my black belt. But I'm curious if you recall uh, what both your brown belt test and black belt test, like what did those entail, and uh, can you maybe talk a little bit
Yeah,
about those?
yeah. Like yeah, my brown belt test. We always tested in groups, like large groups. Like so, if Chris and John and some guys were testing, then everybody would test. So it was a crazy thing. So Jamie would always make us do everything in the system up to like brown. So he would choose my hardest techniques. Maybe 20 of my best techniques. And we always do it kind of like self defense techniques and then forms, and then we always sparred at the end. Always, and that's how every single test was. Like if you tested, then other people came to the test and they did it with you, and so like Brown was just like that. It was almost like a black belt test. You're like doing the techniques, doing the forms, and you get the sparring going. I mean, I was nervous like you wouldn't believe. You had to spar at the end after I was exhausted. Um, Black belt was very similar, where we're going through like the yellow, orange, we're going through the material, not absolutely everything, but picking my best forms, my best techniques. My first black test was really intense because I think Jamie had um 8 to 10 black belts from around the city come and sit on the panel. So, I mean, there was some good pressure. It's a good pressure to perform, but I think that's when I did my best. I think when I had a little nerves, there's that bit of pressure there. That's when, I did my absolute best, you know those tests were so memorable because they were so hard. And then when you were done, you just felt like, oh, you feel so glad that you did it. It's over. And I just feel like it's great to test for all your belts. So none of my belts are ever given to me. They're hard earned, and I'm blessed for that. I'm thankful for it because it just taught me to walk through the fire a little bit, deal with these nerves, walk through the fire. Not every belt test was my favorite. I remember my fourth, I felt like, oh, this was the roughest one. It was so tough, but it taught me. I learned from every single test because I mean, literally, we would do these brown belts, black belt tests, and then we would just, the next day, Jamie and I would be training right away, and just keep improving. Whatever I didn't do so well in the test, I was making sure the next test, I had it down. So, it was intense. I tell you, the toughest test that Mr. Seabrook would run.
Very nice. Yeah, it's important to really work that, really work through it and really earn it, versus just kind of sailing through the training.
Man,
So
no better feeling.
I'm curious if you have a story to share in regards to. So for me, I on one of my tests, I started going coordination set too,
Oh,
and
yeah.
got about halfway through it, and then I
Yeah.
realized, wait a second, I was asked to do blocking set too, and so I
Yeah.
stopped and I
Yeah.
turned to the instructor, and he was like, "Yeah, I was wondering when you were going to realize
Yeah.
realize what you were doing." So,
Yeah.
so I'm curious if you had any situations like that, maybe whether it be in a test or in a class or something. Is there any kind of situations like that that you want to maybe want to share?
Yeah, sure. I've definitely had my like hiccups too. Like I'll be in the middle of something, like, wait a second. But I think one of the like craziest stories was I just I this is a crazy story. I was competing in Baltimore at this world championship thing. This LTKK World Championship. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people from Ireland and all over. But what makes it really interesting is I was in a black belt division and went from first degree black to like fourth. And then there was another division for fifth and above, which Jamie was in. And I was in there with like four or five other competitors, and I'm nervous. I get up and I do long form four in front of a huge room of people. I mean, this, I nailed it. I felt like I crushed that long four. It felt so good. I was exhausted, but I had given it 110% through the whole form. It's long and tough, and I'll never ever forget this. I go back, and they had some kind of rule where they weren't allowed to have judges from, like, Ireland judging Irish people. They all came together. So they made some mess up, and they're like, "Sorry guys, you made a mistake. We're going to have to do it again." It's like, "No way. No way." So I remember my mindset though. Uh I was like, you can't be serious, because it was the best long four. But I remember thinking to myself, you know what? I got to do this again. I got to take this championship. I got to take this first place. I need to suck it up one more time. I remember that, thinking that to myself, and, doing it again, even better the second time. um, that was one of the best feelings that they ever had. And just, it was so challenging. I mean, I'm exhausted already. I had used my energy, and I was so nervous. There's so many people, but one of the best things I was able to kind of push through. Like, I mean, it's one of my best stories. It was just being able to stay mentally headstrong, buckle down. All right, here we go. Let's do it again. Let's go. So that's one of my favorite stories out of hundreds of stories. That one for competition, that was tough, but really helped me a lot.
Very nice, very nice. So I wanted to kind of jump back to the jujitsu part really quick.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, did has the Kempo training helped with your jujitsu at all, uh, or just kind of any insights with training both? As we kind of mentioned a little bit before, how there's I guess a little bit of kind of back and forth about, oh well, Kempo should have jujitsu or shouldn't have
Sure.
jujitsu or all
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
having trained in both, kind of just what have you seen, or has it helped at all? Has it just
Yeah.
been so different that you have to
Yeah.
train different things, or just kind of
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, I just felt like when I started studying jujitsu, it gave me this ability to have a better feel with my uki. When I was doing kempo techniques, the jujitsu was helping me with sensitivity and feel. Um, and then I knew that jujitsu can be applied when you're really close. So this is what I loved about combining, like, a little bit of jujitsu with kempo. Is sometimes with kempo, you might blast off a technique, do, 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 and then you're exiting, and then you're going back in for some more strikes or something. Um, so what I like about jujitsu or combining is I like to be able to do like a kempo technique, for example, but at the end of a kempo technique, you can do jujitsu. So, for example, we did one with thrusting wedge. Thrusting wedge, you come into the push, you do the double claw to the face, you do the upward elbow, and then we came down with the claw. But then I was shown this like little thing. You can kind of reach down, grab the collar, and I went around the opponent, and I've got like a bow and arrow choke, like straight from jujitsu, but a stand up. And what I liked about it was you're like securing the opponent, as opposed to doing multiple strike, boom, 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 and then like exiting or covering out, and then going back in or re-engaging or something like that. So that's what I really like, is being able to combine jujitsu at the end. If it fits, it works. It's gonna fit. So there's lots of cool applications like that where it works at the end. Like I love the Kempo extensions, like love them, but sometimes you don't gotta do all that. So you know,
Exactly.
jujitsu is
Exactly.
so effective. It's just a totally different thing. Oh,
Yeah. No, I like that you mentioned, combining it with a technique. So I'm actually kind of
right.
surprised that I've brought this up as many times as I have with a lot of the guests. But
Yeah.
I think about the Panther production videos back in the day, and
Oh, yes.
there was a video that really stood out to me. David German, and he had the
Dave
the
German.
mhm.
Yeah.
He had
Cool.
the Kempo Jiu Jitsu connection, and
Cool.
showing how combining jiu-jitsu with kempo. And one that really stood out to me was he was doing flashing wings, and adding in some wrist locks and some arm bars and whatnot to the end of that technique, and
Yeah.
modifying that technique with jiu-jitsu. And I was like, this feels so, it works so well. And kind of over the
Yes.
years of, I don't have a ton of jiu-jitsu training. My first instructor, uh, he had Wally J as a mentor. So
Oh,
we did
cool.
some small circle jiu-jitsu, and so I've got to kind of play with a little bit here, and
Yeah.
taken one BJJ class. So um,
Yeah.
I definitely am interested in kind of getting more into it. But like I mentioned
Yeah.
before, it's a good base, and connects really well with the different arts. So
Yeah, like I feel like too, like even just learning like some basic stuff. Like obviously it gets really intricate later. But we do the Gracie Jiu Jitsu Academy, is university thing online, and they like get you to learn the first 36 most effective techniques first, and then later on, if you continue, like they say, if you quit jujitsu tomorrow, at least you'd have these 36 moves that are, the most effective. And it was like a broad introduction to all the techniques. But then as you kind of go forward, it was like, okay, it's showing the defenses, the connections, and everything together. But I even think like couple of basic jujitsu is great for everybody, right? Just some of those key, basic moves: mount, side mount, guard, half guard, and there's some of those basic chokes and like arm bar, triangle, bow and arrow. Those basic ones can, just those alone can just really add to the kempo. You can see it, during training where it fits. It's perfect.
exactly, I like it.
Yeah, it's great. It really is.
All right, so we're gonna move to our lightning round here. Just got a few questions to throw at you here. First one being, do you have a favorite technique?
Oh my God, that is like the hardest question. I have my favorites, but I'm going to say my favorite technique of all time. It's got to be leaping crane. Leaping crane. I
Very
love
nice.
it.
I was actually
Love
working
leaping
on that
crane.
technique last night in
Oh,
class. So yeah,
oh, the extension, everything, just the best.
very nice. Very nice. I like it. I like it. Right. Do you have a favorite form and or set?
Favorite form, I'm gonna say long six. Love long six. One of my favorite sets is stand set two. I love it. It's so elegant. You combine it with the breathing as well, the balance. So it's really good, like leg training and balance training. Stand set two, long six. Just love it. Just love it. Just the flow and everything. It's my favorite.
Very nice. I believe you're in good company. Sorry, listeners, I'm spoiling an episode that's not out yet, but I believe Brittany Tatum picked Stand Set 2 as one of her
Oh, right
favorites.
on.
So
Cool.
yeah, very nice. I like that. And then there was another guest. Actually, I believe the one of the last guests that I released as we're recording. Um,
Yeah.
I believe she also. I think she picked Stand Set 1,
Oh,
um,
nice. Yeah.
but yeah, the Stand Sets are definitely getting some love among the guests.
Yeah,
So
for
so I
sure.
like it. I like it. Very nice.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Next question. Do you have a favorite weapon?
Um, I've got some. I got a collection at home, but just the knife, just the good old knife. I think that's the most common weapon out there, and the things you can do with it as well.
Very nice. I like it. All right. And then the final question: if there is anyone that you could train with, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, who would that be besides Ed Parker?
Oh, I was gonna say
This is
Parker
a
for
Kimpo
sure.
podcast, so yeah, I have to take Ed Parker
Yes.
off the table because everyone says
Yeah,
that.
yeah, for sure. Well, if it's definitely it'd be Ed Parker for sure. But if I had to choose someone else, 100% it's gonna be Helio Gracie, the founder of Gracie Jiu Jitsu. Um, I couldn't imagine the kind of story, and to be able to train with someone like that would be so cool. But yeah, that would be other than Ed Parker for sure.
I like it. I like it. All right. So
Very cool.
now is your time for shameless self promotion. So you can say anything you like. If there's anything that you want to put out there that we haven't covered already, you have the floor, and then we'll close out from there.
Yeah, no, you know what? Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you having me on, and just want to thank you for, doing something like this. There's a lot of guys out there that have a cool story, to tell, and we were talking about the first generation black belts. There's a lot of new blood. There's a lot of new, really good people and masters and people to learn from. So yeah, I'm just, I'm really excited with the future. I'm excited to teach as well. So I'm gonna have my school going. We're at universal.com, Universal Martial Arts. So I'll have that up and running really soon. And just yeah, I just want to thank you, man. Doing this kind of thing and letting other people tell their story. We hear all the stories from the other guys, but it's nice to be able to hear about from some other people. And I think what you're doing is a great thing. I've seen who you've interviewed before, and it's awesome, man. And thank you for doing it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love hearing the stories, and I'm happy to be able to share with everyone. And yeah, everyone. I think everyone has a story to tell, and you don't have to be that 10th degree black belt to have something worth sharing.
Absolutely.
We all learn and grow from each other, and the high ups in the art didn't get there without the rest of us too. So it's a
Yeah.
back and forth. It's a two way street, and yeah, I think it's important to get everyone's story out there, and so that we can all learn and grow together. So.
Absolutely. I love what you're doing.
All right. Well, once again, thank you again so much for being on, and I will be in touch when this is ready to go out. And yeah, just thank you, thank you for being on.
Reggie, thank you so much for having me and for the opportunity. And I hope we can train in person.
Oh,
And
for
I'd love
sure.
to do this again sometime.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we'll definitely have to have you back on, and we'll talk some more stuff,
Awesome.
and yeah, thank you.
I would love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to My Empty Hands. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend. If you didn't enjoy it, please share it with an enemy. If you'd like to be a guest, or if you would like to recommend a guest for the show, please email me at podcast@talkingkempo.com. Thank you.